Okay, so although I think that working in the insurance industry can be very rewarding, there are some things that legit get on my damn nerves. And if you work in the insurance industry, I'm sure you can agree.
You in the past, I'm in the future. You mad.
Thank you guys so much for clicking on this video. If you're new here, my name is Keela Trishan and I make videos on lifestyle, womanhood, and mental health. I do a lot of videos, like a lot of vlogs on day in the life in the insurance industry, day in the life with a toddler, all the things. So if that's something that interests you, go on ahead and click that subscribe button below and be sure to turn on your notifications so you don't miss anything from me. And if you're returning, thank you so much for coming back and thank you for your support. Okay, so as I said, working in the insurance industry can be cool, but there are some things as an adjuster and just a claims professional in general that really make the job harder than what it needs to be. The purpose of this video is not to necessarily bash, it's more just to kind of come together and figure out ways that we can make things better, I guess. Like, I think a lot of it is just really a conversation. There are things that I have been through really at every carrier. In some cases, we were able to make things better, and in some cases, we weren't. So if you are interested, if you are an adjuster, or if you are thinking about going to the industry and are just curious about some of the nuances, go on ahead and stay tuned. Okay, so the first thing that I want to talk about, and I know that this doesn't happen only in insurance, but since I'm in the industry, that's kind of what I'm gearing it towards. But I cannot stand when managers automatically take the customer side when there is a disagreement with an employee. So let me just clear the air. I understand if, the employee has been rude or disrespectful to the customer or just, done something out of pocket, done something that is out of policy, that's one thing. Again, I still think that there's like tact or whatever, like you definitely should talk to your employee, but I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about when the employee is enforcing the policy as it's written, doing the things that you have told them to do, and then when there's a disagreement with the customer, instead of you getting the facts from the customer before you just jump to their defense and kind of leave your employee in the background, you just take the customer side and essentially make it look as if the employee messed up. So the reason why this is detrimental to any type of working relationship is because I think that it's very important for you to be able to trust your coworkers and your managers. So if I'm doing everything I can on a claim and the customer isn't happy, that's something that happens all the time. Like somebody might not be happy with their settlement, or they might not be happy with the decision, that happened in the claim. All kinds of things can happen, and a lot of it is out of our control. The biggest thing one of the biggest reasons why people sometimes will leave the industry is because their managers don't have their back. Now, I understand that it's twofold, because managers are put in a position where they have to keep it from escalating, but still adhere to the policy. So I do understand in some cases the manager has to kind of bend a little to make sure that things don't escalate and to essentially have like a happy customer. I think, again, the issue comes in when you kind of inadvertently bash the employee to the customer, so then it looks as if the employee was incompetent. And a lot of times that's not the case. The employee is simply enforcing the rules, and the customer isn't happy with that, so they ask to talk to a manager. So I think kind of the way to remedy that, at least for me, is before you come at me talking about the customer said this, customer said that, read the notes in the file. We're required to put notes in the file all the time with every interaction. So read the notes and see what's going on. And I'm not saying that every customer is unreasonable, because that's not the case, but there are a lot of cases where, the customer just simply isn't happy with the decision that was made. And it's not because we don't like the customer, it's just because it goes against policy. And then in some instances, the employee isn't able to make certain exceptions. It has to go to a manager. So I feel like with some managers, they need to do a better job of coming to the employee, getting the information from them, getting the information from their point of view, and also reading the notes, and then taking that information and then making a decision. Now, if you do have to go against what I said to the customer, make sure that you're explaining, hey, this is the policy, but for this situation, because of this, I'm going to do A, B, and C for you. That's much more effective than you going and saying, oh, I'm so sorry you had that experience with her, I'll have a conversation with her. Let me go on ahead and do this for you. Because if I still have to deal with that customer later on, they essentially are not going to want to talk to me anymore. They're going to always want to escalate it to management because they feel like I don't have their best interest. And then now I'm looking at you, the manager, like, okay, now we have a problem. So you asked me to go above and beyond, or, you come to me with anything, I'm gonna kind of be on the defensive with you because you didn't have my back. So I think it's important that, you know, employees and managers, we protect each other more. And, you know, just because somebody says something, my biggest thing is, you know me, you don't know this customer. So at least give me the courtesy of getting my side of things before you just completely jump to their defense and bash me. Okay, so the second thing that really gets on my nerves, and I know I'm not the only one because I've had this discussion with colleagues as well, is when there's no teamwork within the other departments. So this is something that I've experienced both in the homeowners department and in the auto department. But a lot of times, like, all the departments work with each other, but like this department has a certain job and then my department has a certain job. And in some instances, if this department doesn't do what they're supposed to do, I can't move on with my work. And then if I don't do what I'm supposed to do, they can't move on with their work. It just kind of depends on the situation. So you have a lot of times where, you know, the departments are just busy. Insurance has its ups and downs. Like, you have seasons where you're just extremely busy, can't even breathe. And then you have other seasons where you're relatively slow and you're able to kind of keep up on all your work. It just depends on the time of year, depends on what's going on, if there are any natural disasters, whatever. Even still, we have a job to do. So it's like, if this department didn't do what they're supposed to do, and then I reach out and ask, hey, can you do such and such, you know, so I can move forward, I don't want no attitude, you know, like I'm gonna do the same. If you reach out to me, if there's something that I forgot to do on a file or whatever, I'm gonna go ahead and take care of it so you can move forward with your job. Because at the end of the day, the goal is to help the customer and to get this claim off both of our desks, or however many departments are involved. So I feel like there needs to be more understanding with your coworkers internally. Like, I just try to operate like customers come to us with, you know, all kinds of issues and different things going on because they're in a tough situation. So there's a certain way that I'm going to handle my customers, but there's a certain way I'm going to handle my coworkers. I just feel like there needs to be like a certain respect. And I understand that people get frustrated and people get overwhelmed, but that's no reason to just like not do your job and completely drop the ball. Because a lot of the industry is contingent on like this department doing what they're supposed to do, and then, you know, me moving forward on what I'm supposed to do. What ends up happening a lot of times, if one department doesn't do what they're supposed to do, it could put more work or more strain on another department. And then when everybody gets overwhelmed, that's when the customers suffer. So we just need to do a better job at having more open communication with each other so we can all come to the common goal of getting that claim closed so we can move on with our lives. Okay, so the third thing that can be extremely annoying in this industry is when you have these conversations with your managers and the higher ups. A lot of times in insurance, you're going to have a lot of meetings. Like, we're going to meet about different processes. We're going to meet about different things that are working and not working. And I noticed that in some cases, the higher ups get really annoyed, or they will kind of gaslight you when you bring up an issue with the process. I think it's important to understand that the employees that are on the front line are going to have a lot of information. They are a wealth of information, and essentially you can't do the job without them. So I've had the best experiences with managers and higher ups that are willing to actually listen. And it's not to say that you have to do everything that we say, but we're giving you valuable information and trying to, I guess, let you know how we can be more efficient at our job, how we can all get to our common goal. Like, a lot of higher ups, they're concentrating on the numbers, making sure that things get closed out in a timely manner, making sure the customer service numbers stay up. And as an employee, we're worried about that too, but we're actually having to do the brunt work. So when we bring up, issues or flaws that we see in the process, we expect to be listened to. Because what happens is when you don't listen to your employees, eventually they start to internalize that. Morale goes down. And I know for me personally, I'm also the type, like, if I feel like I'm bringing up things to you and you're not doing anything about it, or you are gaslighting me and pretty much telling me that it shouldn't be an issue and just get it done, eventually I start to check out. And excuse my language, I don't give a F what is going on with your customers or whatever. I'm looking for another job, because what you're not gonna do is stress me the hell out all day, every day. I don't care. I talk about this all the time. Like, I work so I can have money to fund my lifestyle, but I'm not gonna allow any one part of my life to stress me out. And a lot of us are kind of on that same thing. And I think that that can be detrimental to companies because obviously you need those employees to get the job done unless you're going to do it yourself. So my biggest thing is I think that we should all be willing to listen to one another. On the flip side, as an employee, I'm willing to listen if I bring up a solution that may not be viable at the time or may not be something that they have the capacity to do. I understand that, and some things you just kind of have to accept as, you know, how it is. But I think that we need to do a better job of not getting offended when flaws are brought up in the process, and kind of try to be more open to listening to solutions. If somebody's always bringing up a problem and never a solution, that's another thing. But if I'm coming with solutions, I appreciate you listening to me and at least hearing me out. Okay, so the fourth thing that is very stressful in the insurance industry is when processes are implemented that make the job harder for the employees by people who have never actually done the job. So this is something, unfortunately, that has happened a lot. Like, people will come up with a process because they're kind of looking at it from a bird's eye view. So instead of doing things this way, they add an extra couple of steps because they say it should make things easier, when in actuality, it makes the job like harder for the employees. And in some instances, I think that, you know, some things just need to change, you know, and it might make the job harder at first, but eventually it becomes easier. I'm not talking about those things, but I do think that things like that need to be explained. In this industry and in this job, there are so many steps to complete one file. That's why I always say that it takes a special type of person, because it's not like one of those things where you get done with the claim and then you're just done, you never see it again. Somebody could come back and say, hey, you know, you wrote me a check, but there's not enough money, you know, whatever, to fix this. My contractor said it's going to be this much, or my body shop said it's going to be this much. Somebody could come back with some type of one-off problem. Like, things aren't just cut and dry. And then on top of that, you still have to keep up with all your metrics. You have to, you know, talk to so many customers per day. You have to close so many claims per day and per month and all that stuff. You have to send out so many letters. So it's so many things being thrown at you that when processes are implemented that make the job unnecessarily harder, that can also kill morale. So I think that when these decisions are being made, this is another situation where I believe that the employees that are actually doing the work should be included, because those employees can offer you valuable information. Now, I've been on both sides of the coin. I've been on one side where the higher ups that made these processes actually listened and understood that it was making the job more difficult. So they were able to kind of compromise and, you know, either take something off of our plate or do it in a way where it didn't make the job harder than it needed to be. Because it just goes without saying, when your employees are happy and when your employees feel like they're being taken care of, in turn, they take care of the customers. And you don't really always have to worry about customer service because your employee feels empowered and they feel like the company cares about them, so they want to make a good impression on the company. But when the employee feels like they are not being listened to, or, you know, their ideas are just being passed over, then eventually they just stop giving a fuck. You know, I mean, it's not rocket science. So I think that especially for people that have not done the job, be open to listening to your employees' input and ideas. And if it's something that can't be done, just let them know, hey, you know, we can't do it this way because of whatever, you know, but we can do this. As long as the lines of communication are open, I do think that that would make for a better work environment. And it goes back to that teamwork. Like, if we can get together and work as a team, things usually go a lot smoother for the company all around. All right, guys, so that is all that I have for you today. I just wanted to kind of have a discussion. I do a lot of these insurance videos, and my goal really is to give you guys the good, the bad, the ugly, all of that. Again, I think that overall it is a good career to go into if you're looking for something long-term, if you're looking for something that has growth. But I mean, just like with every industry, I'm sure there are things that could change, things that are kind of constant in the industry that we need to work on. And I'm big on communication and just talking about those things and trying to figure out ways that we can move forward so we can, you know, stay in the industry. So yeah, if you have any stories, if you have anything that you experience at your job, whether it be in insurance or not, feel free to put those below. I would love to hear. And again, I just want to kind of have like a little community where we can discuss these things openly and come up with solutions, not just problems, but solutions. If you enjoyed this video, definitely go on ahead and give me a thumbs up. It really helps with the YouTube algorithm, and you know I'm trying to grow. Had some pretty good growth in 2021, and I'm trying to continue that into 2022. So I hope you guys all have a great holiday season and a happy new year. If you have not already subscribed, go on ahead and click that subscribe button below. Be sure to turn on your notifications so you don't miss anything from me. And with that being said, you guys have an amazing day, and I'll see you next time.
I'm in the future. You mad? They don't salute you. I need a bag, size is super. They turned your